Welcome back, fanboys and fangirls. It's time for Spider-Man spoilers. If you haven't watched it,
go away.
This is your first and final warning. We are going to be spoiling Spider-Man No Way Home
That's right.
to the moon and back. So,
Do I need to introduce us again? That's Mr. Tyler.
Yo, I'm Miss Tyler. That's the beautiful Brett Eisen.
hey! That's me.
So let's chat some spoilers about
If you want something
Spider-Man.
strange to listen to our spoiler-free review where we
Try to not spoil things. We didn't spoil anything. We did a pretty good job.
I think we did a very good job.
So yeah, spoiler chat. Let's open it up and just talk about what we want to talk about. Do we want to talk about the first surprise of the movie?
I was say there's so many good things to talk about.
The first, the biggest, and in my opinion, the best surprise was Matt Murdock is back. We've been hearing Charlie Cox is going to be Matt Murdock, who's the future for Daredevil, and to see him.
Yeah, to actually see him in the MCU.
When that cane slapped down on the ground, I let out this little...
Right?
Especially because, like, after Hawkeye, I went back into Daredevil because I like this show. I just need to watch it now. I need more of it in my life. Oh, and just see him in... So
Man,
awesome.
Daredevil fans eating good this week. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
it was...
so true.
I didn't go... But I definitely, like, oh, yeah, you're going to want to lawyer up. I'm like, oh, this lawyer talk, man, they're going to freaking do it, aren't they? And then the cane slaps, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then it, like, shoots out, and he's got the glasses on. I was like, ah!
And it was funny because...
The scene's great, too.
Yeah.
The scene's great.
I saw it Saturday morning, so the crowd is a little slower on the uptake. So when the cane hit the ground, I let out my little... And it was still dead silent. Nobody else knew. And then it showed Charlie Cox and everybody like started cheering. I was just like, wow, it's real. It's actually on screen. No more speculation. There he is.
Yeah. No, that was really cool.
But yeah, the scene was fantastic too.
How'd you do that?
I'm a great lawyer.
I'm a great lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer.
Yeah.
I like how he's like encouraging Happy to get a really good lawyer, and he's just sitting there like not offering his services.
Yeah. I do like. I think that I'm not gonna overanalyze this scene, but like I do like that humor sounds. It works for this version of Murdoch. Like the I'm a great lawyer thing. He would absolutely say that. It didn't feel like they were like, yeah, we need you to be funny for this. Like, no, it felt like he would say that because he kind of makes these like arrogant statements throughout the show too. So I was like, nice. Feels so good to see him back. I cannot wait to see what he's in next.
Gonna start Daredevil soon?
I guess I'm gonna have to now.
Wait, so you've never watched Daredevil?
No, I've watched part of season 1.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, man, that's really good. And I've only watched the first 2 seasons and Defenders.
Season 1, Season 2, Defenders,
Season 3. Yep. I've watched season 1, season 2, and Defenders, and like 6 episodes of season 3. But I'm gonna start it over.
Or if you really don't want to watch Defenders, you can watch Defenders on YouTube.
I think you should watch Defenders though.
Yeah, it's good.
We're not here to talk about that though.
What's this?
Dude,
let's talk about Spider-Man.
Let's talk about Spider-Man. So I think the next big reveal. I don't know, and I may be wrong. But it's kind of a throwaway line that Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme.
That is, in my spoiler-free review, I talked about one line that might kind of make Strange justifiably a little more reckless.
Yeah.
I assume that he's kind of matured out of that. But yeah, Wong is now Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, and I was like, it was kind of like nobody in my theater reacted to that, but it was kind of like your moment. I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said it out loud, and nobody really responded to it.
It's also like they explain it in the movie too, how much sense it makes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
For 5 years, of course it should.
We're just not gonna not have a Sorcerer Supreme for.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those moments where you're like, oh man, that has huge implications.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just gonna speed past that because there's a lot in this movie, and that's one of the bigger reveals that I don't think a lot of people are gonna talk about.
Yeah,
because that's a huge deal, and I think it sets up more for. I think a little bit of that part of the movie is setting up Multiverse of Madness.
Sure.
Kind of what's going on. as is some other things that we'll talk about a little later, I'm sure. But no, that was a very big moment in a very small line.
Yep.
So pretty cool.
Agreed. Now I feel like I have to go chronologically.
That's what I've
through
been
the
doing.
movie.
But just because it keeps it easier. Honest. You can go all over the map if you want.
I don't know.
Do we talk about the elephant in the room?
No, let's before we talk
It's on the
about the elephants, let's talk about the giraffes. I don't know. You threw out an animal. I'm throwing out an animal back.
Okay.
Should
have used a rhino though. It'd have been a little more appropriate.
That would have been
It's okay, though.
topical.
Hindsight's 2020.
Well,
it's all good.
you know, we kind of talked about the performances in the spoiler-free review of Defoe and Melina, all of the Jamie Foxx as well. We didn't really mention him in our spoiler-free review, but like, I think their relationship with Peter, in terms of like what's going on, it was different than what I expected.
Yeah, and I think all their dispositions are different, which I thought was really cool. Like, you have Lizard and Sandman, who they're there for the third act.
Yeah.
But like, you have Electro or Jamie Foxx, he's kind of like, no, I like myself here.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like where I'm from, I was like this weird dude, and I didn't really like myself, and like I like the way I feel here, so I want to stay.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, he has a little bit different of a motivation. And then you have Doc Ock, who's like, yeah, I just don't want to go back and die.
Yeah.
But like, I'm willing to help you guys if you can prevent me from dying. And then you have the double agent in Norman, who's like,
half of them wants
to
help, and the other half definitely don't.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't. And I just thought it was cool that they're not all just like, let's team up and take down Spider-Man.
Right.
It's like, no. We have these villains and we're going to give them different motivations, and it works just really, really well.
Yeah, the fact that you can have there's five of them.
Yeah.
Five of them. Four of them essentially walking around New York.
Yeah.
Like, they go to Happy's apartment, and the only one who has to be restrained is Doc Ock because of his AI tentacles who are trying to murder everyone.
Yeah.
But like, that I thought was such a cool first act, second act kind of twist to where it's like, oh, we're not gonna have like just there's conflict there obviously at the beginning.
Yeah.
But like, as soon as they kind of realize, oh, there's magic here.
Yeah, there's magic.
we have to reevaluate, and that provides a very interesting commentary that we don't get in the other Spider-Man films.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're just bad guys in the other Spider-Man. I mean, they're not, but they are.
Right. They're more of your classic villain. Yeah, and in this, they're a little more layered, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I also just really liked how, like, we saw Melina's redemption in 2002, or whenever that came out. So we just didn't get an evil Doc Ock the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
There was the one fight, and then they fixed him, and he was a good guy the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yep.
I was pretty happy about it. And like with Osborn, and Defoe stole the movie for me.
Yeah.
With his identity disorder that he's going through, to just switch up that quick. And I thought he was so good.
I love and they did this back in like Raimi's movies when he switches. They kind of like zoom on his face, and he kind of like it almost looks like he hollows out his eyes a little bit. And I'm just like, gosh, he still can freaking do that so well, even with this weird technology thing we got going on.
Yep.
Because you're right, he is very expressive. And it works.
And I liked how they didn't hide it behind a mask this time.
Yeah, just broke that mask right away. And honestly, I think
that was a request of his, wasn't it?
Oh, it may have been, but it was a good move to get me to almost trust that he had some more control over the Green Goblin than he did previously, right? Like it actually, after the scene with him and May, like at the shelter or wherever, at Feast, it was like, oh, wow, okay, and then he starts helping him make things.
But it's crazy because you're like, I don't trust him.
I
don't trust him.
You know he's coming back
right
somehow.
Before he flips, you're like, I trust him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You think like they linger just long enough to where you're right. You do start to go, okay, no, maybe he is, because you're like, okay, we have 3 bad guys, 2 good guys. this is all lining up perfectly because this is all prior to the big thing.
Yeah.
And it just works so well. The handling of the villains, and again, this is in our spoiler-free review. I talked about John Watts not getting enough credit. This is one of those moments where you find a way to make this work, and writers too. But like he finds a way to make every character get enough that it works just so well.
Yep.
And it's so impressive.
And then, in my opinion, well, the third act was incredible to watch. I think this scene, the brutality of it,
This
and
had a lot of power
the
in it.
the choreography in it was really fun and hard to watch. Because in this scene, like, Spider-Man isn't wearing his mask anymore.
He doesn't wear it a lot of the
He doesn't
movie.
need to.
Yeah.
So you're seeing an actor fight.
Yeah.
And he's doing all those moves and throwing through walls, and it felt so real.
Yeah, there's
which
a lot
has
of
been a complaint about Spider-Man, where he's this bouncy CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of destruction in that scene.
They felt heavy.
Yeah.
Yep, and Defoe like is beating the hell out of him.
Defoe like doing the WWE like
And
picking him up and like
throwing him through
throwing
things.
him
Through the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's beating the hell out of Peter in this moment.
That's where we got the move he stole from the Spider-Man game, where he he zips through the floor and pushes him through. You do it to Fisk in the opening mission. Good
little Easter egg.
Good steal there.
Right?
Good choice.
Yep, and
Not
then
steal.
before we get, I think to the
There's one more.
the
There's
big
one. Yeah,
thing.
no, go.
Well, I guess we'll go to that first. After that scene, and it feels super brutal, and we get the glider hitting May, and then May dying.
We get
which is a really good scene.
It's a really good scene, and Luke and I were talking about this before you walked in, but like the fact that like they gave her the line, the responsibility line.
Yep.
And it's what, as soon as she said it, I knew. I was like, oh, there's no hope.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, Tom Holland did a great job in that scene.
I just got chills again.
Portraying that grief. Marissa Tomei did fantastic in delivering those lines.
Yes. They didn't feel cheesy at all.
It felt earned.
Yeah, it felt really good. It's nice that it took 3 movies to get to this line.
Yep.
That was something else we were talking about in the other 2 versions of Spider-Man. Where Spider-Man starts is that line. Somebody dies and there's that line. Or version of that line. This one took a trilogy to get there. And it
still feels
so
good.
Much better.
Yeah.
You said it earlier, it feels earned.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like watching Batman's parents die at the beginning of every Batman movie.
Yeah.
It feels like we took our time, we got here, Spider-Man worked his way through things and learned this. And the learning was the 2 movies prior. The affirmation was hearing the words spoken to him. And it was just really, really good.
And acting
huge fan.
on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, I know this is kind of a tangent from big spoilery things. I was too nervous to say in our spoiler-free section just in case, but I feel like this is something Brett talks about a lot, where you want your characters to do something, and something happens because of that, and they react to that, not stuff happening to your character.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of move forward.
Your character should have agency.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, Peter Parker, Spider-Man made a decision to do something, it didn't work, and so these things happened.
Yep.
But then also the other part I love about it is the morals of Spider-Man are just nice.
Yeah.
To have someone it's like, I'm not gonna kill them. And I'm gonna stand by that. I'm gonna do whatever I can to help.
I love Peter, Tom's Peter. His wrestling with that. He's at a point in his life where he just got the worst news, which is him and his girlfriend and his best friend aren't getting into the school, but they want to.
Because he's Spider-Man.
Because he's Spider-Man. And these morals that he's been trying to live up to, he hasn't had portrayed perfectly throughout his life, although most recently, yes, he did have someone sacrifice and yada yada with, someone important to him. But he just kind of wants to deal with his own problems. And so you can tell that he wants to just send, like, he knows he shouldn't just send them back. But like the people in his life keep talking him into the situation of, hey, no, remember who you are. And him making that choice then of, I know the right thing to do is to try and help them, ends up costing him the people he loves the most. With May being the first one of those in that way, and everyone else in a different way.
But then it leads to the next big scenes of the reveal that
Ned is magic. He's a sorcerer.
Yes, and that's my con, right?
That's your
my nitpick. It's just that like we watched Doctor Strange struggle with that a lot in his movie, and in my mind I'm justifying like, yeah, well, you know, because I don't want to be mad about this. Doctor Strange's hands were all jacked up. That's what it was. But in reality, like it's kind of like, yeah, this is happening because we need something.
Yeah.
And so I actually heard somebody talk about this, and I lean into Doctor Strange in his movie. Doctor at a low point and refused to believe anything that wasn't scientifically based. Mm-hmm. That's why it was so hard for him to do stuff. He had to kind of like switch up his mindset, and then But Ned is kind of grown up with his stuff. He's a goofy kid. He's go with the flow.
And he's been told that his family has magic.
Yeah, he wants to believe it.
He's
leaning into
when
that.
When he has opportunity, it's like, oh, wow, I can do this.
I like that better than my justification. I'm going with it.
Yeah. No, I
love it.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like it too.
It is still kind of very convenient.
Yes.
But we forgive it because it was great.
So then it leads to... And I knew as soon as this scene started, I knew exactly where this was headed. And he's like, what's he saying? Like,
we gotta find
Peter Parker. We gotta find Peter Parker. And it opens up, and he's like, Peter! And as soon as those eyes, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Andrew Garfield. And I was like, oh my gosh.
And then you see the kind of the little half run. It's like, oh, that's not Tom Holland's run. That is like Andrew's run.
He's way lankier than the other two.
He's kind of got that like
and so he's like cruising over. I'm like, oh man. And he comes through the portal, and like, for whatever reason, my theater did not pick up on it right away.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, heavy breathing in the corner of this theater. But as he steps through, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, take the mask off. Like, people started chanting to take the mask off. And he takes his mask off and reveals that it's Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. And everybody goes crazy.
Yep.
I'm sure your guys' theater was insane.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Even the Saturday morning crowd was going crazy.
Yeah, and I love the scene there with him and Michelle or MJ. Where she's like, prove it. And he kind of just like, yeah. I love when he just jumps. He's like, don't throw the bread. But he just jumps up and he's like, and like just is like hanging from his fingertips. And she's like, crawl over there. He's like, I'm not crawling over there. Like, I love that he's back.
His energy.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And I've always thought he's such a good Spider-Man. His Peter Parker just wasn't great. And it's just so fun to see him back. And you kind of get him, you're like kind of dealing with the shock value of it. I think everybody in their mind is like, yeah, this is going to happen. But then when it happens, you're like, I cannot believe this is happening. It doesn't feel real. Like when you're watching it, you're like, how did they pull this off? It was like the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah, but
thank you for not just putting it in a trailer.
Yes,
thank you for playing along.
Thank you for letting it be in the movie. And the big shock to me in this scene though is how early in the movie this is.
Yeah,
they're very much a central part of the development for Peter moving forward after May dies. Like, they are very much there to help him get from, okay, look, I just lost the only person in my life who takes care of me, to, hey, look, it's hard, but this is your life now, and this is what you need to do. And like, it's really cool how they kind of mentor the MCU Peter into becoming the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man by the end of the movie. It's just so good. But you guys talk.
I'm curious. Back to the house.
Back to the house.
Then we get the
next reveal.
Which I'm curious. Did your theaters have more cheers for Andrew or Toby?
I don't remember.
I was only in there with like 15 people.
Oh, okay.
I went to a standard showing at 9:25 on Thursday night, and I was with the most obnoxious group of people I've ever been around. It was terrible. But I mean, it was kind of like, oh man, this is cool. I think the first one is what probably sends it in my mind, but then the second one, you're like, yo, that's awesome.
It was interesting. We had.
He looks good.
We had a louder cheers for Toby. And
Really?
I think it was more maybe a shock, less of a shock value. Like, Andrew was maybe like more of a like, kind of gasp, whereas when Toby came through, he's like, yeah!
Yeah. You're just like, oh, this is happening.
It's actually going on!
But I just really loved we gotta find Peter, we gotta find Peter. And then it's Peter, it's just the other different versions. And I just, I'm so happy with how they did it. I just think that's a great way to bring them in. I just thought it worked so incredibly well for me.
Yep.
I loved that so much.
In the moment of when they were both in there, I did love the scene of them all like goofing off with each other because trying to figure out who's who. I was kind of like, I'm surprised they didn't have a grand reveal of like Toby swooping in or something.
Oh, like
superhero.
Give him like the big entry.
However,
I kind of love that they didn't.
That was only in the moment because the following scene after you get the rooftop scene, which is the best scene in the entire movie.
Yeah, yes. Rooftop scene is awesome.
Yep.
And I was okay with it.
And that's like the mentorship scene
when it shows
about.
them just standing on top of the dome.
The dome.
It's just like,
yeah.
And then they hit you hard with the emotion.
Yep. That's one of the moments I cried.
Oh.
That rooftop scene, I was like, oh gosh dang it. I cried 3 times throughout this movie, 3 separate times. The only time I didn't cry when I think I should have is when May died.
Oh, I did.
I didn't cry at that scene.
I'm easy to get though. I still cry all the way through it. First song starts and I'm like,
yeah, I didn't cry when May died, and I don't really know why, but it's everything that follows that just kicked my butt.
There you go.
But no, like the rooftop scene, it's incredible, man. It was really cool to see the older Spider-Men just sharing their wisdom. It's like, and this is kind of the stuff you kind of dream of. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And like at that point, you're still just so shocked by it all, I think. But no, that is definitely one of the best scenes. It's the best scene in this movie, and I would say it's one of the best scenes in the MCU. It's so good.
Yeah.
And my complaint about some of the other movies is they don't deal with their emotions. And in this movie, they do. So thankful.
It's so refreshing too, because I think without kind of this multiverse option, Spider-Man just never gets that kind of thing. And Andrew says it later. He's like, I've always wanted brothers.
Yeah.
You know, like, you guys, I love you guys.
Yeah.
And there's this unique opportunity with this film that they capitalized on perfectly, in my opinion, which was to give them someone to lean on. Spider-Verse did it great.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse did it amazingly as well.
Yeah.
But to give us characters that we know and love already, and to impact each other, because there's also growth there for Andrew and Toby.
There's closure.
Yeah.
A little bit of closure there that was needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is the growth, and there's the conversation about how both of them struggled after their stories, quote unquote, ended, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get Andrew's, kind of I call it the Batman story, where he's like, I stopped pulling my punches. I kind of became this gruff, beat the hell out of the bad guys guy. And then you have, Toby's Peter, and I don't know how we call them the different Peters, but
Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3.
I don't know which one's which.
and
Peter 1 is Tom Holland, Peter 2 is Toby,
and
Peter 3!
Peter 3!
Yeah.
It's Andrew.
Andrew's return is like, it's seriously so good. And Toby's too. Toby's is great. I love all the jokes amongst them.
The dynamic is fun because they're not the same character, and
yeah.
Which is why I'm always frustrated when you see remakes, the Batman movies, for example, where it's like, oh well, like, I wish he was more like
Bale.
Keaton or Bale, or it's like, but do you? You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, you want them to be unique.
You want
not because in the future they'll do a multiverse movie, but because then they have their own experiences. And they have their own ways of reacting and interacting with even similar scenarios, though they may interact differently. And boy, this was just one of those moments. Yeah, on the scaffolding was that was another one of those. Just
where they're just like, it felt like they're kind of ad-libbing.
Yeah, they're just chilling. Yeah.
Does it just come out of your wrist? But I mean, there's too the scene in the school.
The school lab.
Yeah, the lab is also great.
So good. Peter, what?
No, the Peter Parker.
What? Spider-Man.
And they all start pointing at each other. Yeah. I thought they did a really good job with referencing old stuff and memes without it like feeling stupid.
Yes.
Yep. It wasn't like
the back injury.
Oh, yeah, my back.
You want me to pop it? Like that was definitely not in the script. They were just like,
and like one of the jokes people were like, they're gonna freak out when they see that the webbing comes out of his body. And they did. And it was great. And it was very funny.
Another thing, we kind of passed it, but like Toby and Garfield's Spider-Man's kind of have a little scuffle, or like right when they get in the room. And I love that Toby kind of wins it. He's like, and he's like, "Ooh, nice!" Yeah. Like I just loved like the response from it. It's not like this. Oh no, he shouldn't have beat me. It's like, oh yeah, nice shot, dude. Like it's just there's so many fun. The dynamic is 100% correct. The dynamic is so good, and that's one of those things you can't talk about without spoiling the movie.
Yeah.
But gosh, their return is so good. It's so much earlier in the movie than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be like, every other thing ever.
One shows up an hour and a half in, the other one shows up
at the very end.
Final fight.
Or just a third
act
it's
fight.
a third act fight to save the day.
Yeah. And I love that they came in. They helped develop, I'll say our Spider-Man. They helped develop him. They helped him move forward as a character. And then they're like, okay, but now we have this thing we have to go do. And we have to go rescue all these guys we've been fighting our entire lives.
And they're all on the same page about it, which I also love.
Because that's central to the core of Peter.
Of who Peter is.
And it's... Sorry. I'm going to explode.
When are you going to go see this again?
Friday. Dane hasn't seen it yet. We're going to go to church, and then I'm going to go to the theater right after that. With Dana.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited. I might scream when I watch it again, even though I know all the reveals. Like I cannot wait. Man.
Let it out, baby.
It's so fun.
So good. But the lab scene.
Lab scene
is fun.
Good.
And then we kind of move into, big fight.
Big third act fight.
We even, to rewind just a little bit, like we didn't even talk about Strange and Peter's fight.
Yeah, that's a thing. I forgot about that.
I thought that was fairly well done.
I loved how he beat him. Freaking
yes,
that was really awesome.
So good. Oh, this is just and I can't remember what he says.
It's just geometry.
It's geometry. I love geometry. And he starts putting out together. He's like, yeah. No, that scene's great.
Yep.
It's good
and,
stuff.
And it was a
it's better than magic? Math.
It also
very Channing Tatum-esque moment.
Yes.
Science.
It also reminded me of when Strange gets trapped, of when he throws Loki into a portal and he falls.
Oh, yeah.
So when he comes back, he's like, I've been hovering over the Grand Canyon for 12 hours.
Taste of his own medicine.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that fight scene is cool.
Loki's watching now going, yeah, that's how it feels.
Did you see Scott Derrickson's tweet about this? He talked about how he loves that Doctor Strange's visual language is kind of propelling Marvel forward, like for Phase 4, Phase whatever we're in. And I was like, that's really cool. It's really cool to see how it's still central to what they're doing. It's very much what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I think it's really cool that they are able to fit Doctor Strange's next movie into this movie in a way.
Yeah.
It's a springboard for a lot of things. One of them is the Multiverse of Madness movie.
I think Marvel has been getting better overall. They're not batting 100, but overall they're getting 1,000.
They might actually be batting 100.
I don't know how baseball works.
Well, 1,000 is like 10 for 10 or 1 for 1.
Why not 10,000? Why not 100,000? What about 1 million? Why not just one?
Then you're like 1,000 and for one.
Okay. Well, in any
1,000
case,
hits and one at bat.
I think they've been getting better at giving us a fully realized, self-contained story while also setting up other things.
Yes.
It's not always so obvious, and
Preach!
it's not always so. And here's an end credit scene because we couldn't fit it in the movie.
Yep.
Like.
Yeah. Now we just get trailers.
They do that some, but
honestly, I loved that.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a trailer at the end of every movie.
Yeah. Now we
get to the Statue of Liberty.
We get to the Statue of Liberty, and we kind of get the scaffolding scene that you were talking about, and just so.
What's the?
I love that so much because they're both like, yeah, I fought an alien, and then Andrew Spider-Man is like, I fought a Russian guy in a rhino costume.
So
I'm just lame.
I think this is the most underrated joke in the movie where Toby is just going,
"You're amazing.
You're nothing. You're amazing.
Yes.
You're amazing." Because he's from the Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's not just a joke. It's like important to how he sees himself, and like the fact that Toby's Spider-Man is able to lift up.
Toby is the most emotionally adjusted Spider-Man in this movie because he helps Tom's Spider-Man kind of deal with Aunt May dying. And then he helps Andrew Garfield with his confidence issues and how he doesn't feel like he's cool enough. And I was like, man, this is just like the old man coming back to share wisdom. It's like Brett to us. Like he's the old guy.
Oh.
You know? I
Happy
love
to
that.
be compared to Tobey Maguire any day.
I mean, that's probably the only way I'd compare it, just being old, but I'm glad it works for you. But no, like I loved that. It was really, really cool to watch him kind of be the big brother of the group. And again, you know, I always wanted brothers. Like,
yep.
I loved it. I was just so juiced watching this.
I thought the fight scene was well choreographed. It was easy to follow.
So this is my only nitpick really in the movie.
Yeah.
When they're all flying around, now they're all wearing masks. I felt like I couldn't really tell them apart all the time. Holland's was the easiest because he's got
the gold.
But I felt like Garfield and Toby looked so similar, and it's dark, and everything's moving so fast, and I just like, I guess it's one of them.
Yeah. For the most part, they just match up against their respective villains. That's how I figured it out.
They all quip enough that I can tell who's talking. That was my distinguishing thing. But
like one of the ones where I was like, which one was that? Was when they have like the money shot where they run off the scaffolding, they jump, they're swinging around. But I think throw them forward, and I was like, which one of them threw them forward? It was Garfield, or I assumed it was Toby because he's older and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I guess to me, I wasn't as concerned about the individual just because they had just had that conversation about being a team.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, it doesn't matter who's who because they're working together.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nitpick.
I'm going to destroy your nitpick. It's a terrible nitpick.
I do love that.
I'll destroy that Jurassic Park poster.
No, please don't. I spent good money on that.
I do love that Tom's Peter is the one who's like, I'm going to help these guys learn to work together because they've never worked with other people before.
I've been on the Avengers. Is that a band?
Yeah.
Dude, you were in a band?
So many great.
Great. What is that?
the excitement too is like, great. I don't know what that means. You're bringing it up, so it must be important. But like, tell me more.
Dude, Garfield's energy in this is like perfect. It's so good.
Peter 3.
Yeah. And that tracks with who he is. But one of the things, we started talking about suits, and not being able to tell the difference. One of the most interesting things to me was seeing them three in their suits, because two of them are practical, and one of them is like 98% CGI. and like you can tell in certain moments, you're like, oh boy. But eventually you're just kind of like, okay. I mean, honestly, I thought it added charm to them returning, because like they're returning and they're in like these ratty suits compared to the new Peter.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it. I wish they'd made a joke about it. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, and I cannot believe it, the Raimi suit holds up so well.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yep.
Way when he put the mask on, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how good that looked.
Yep.
Might have to rewatch those movies.
Yeah. Oh, for
It's
sure.
been ages.
I'm gonna go buy them on Blu-ray.
I know, right? I'm thinking like, how am I gonna
I will.
watch them?
Yeah. No,
I'll go
it
buy
was
'em.
just the whole
Amazon, two-day
Statue of
shipping.
Liberty bit, and
They're probably all sold out.
We'll get here before Christmas.
Everyone's buying them.
we haven't really talked about the villains. Well, we did a little bit. We talked about how they're all having motives, but I think this is the moment where you're kind of like, man, I wish Defoe would have been here longer.
Yes. Yes.
Because you watched him just wreck Peter earlier in the movie, and you're like, man,
What's
he's like the
what's
only
he
one
just
who would have
hiding?
given them real trouble here. But it's kind of like he's probably just waiting, let them punch themselves out a little bit,
Yeah.
rope-a-dope them, and then show up. But
I still could have used
for
a
sure.
brief minute and a half little segment where he is going up maybe even if it's just one at a time versus all three of them kind of one
Yeah, I would've
kicking him
liked-
off going to the other
I would've liked
taking
to
him out
seen
go to the
Garfield fight him.
third see how they and then
watch them all come back.
I don't know how that works. I'm not a choreographer. I can't tell you how that works, but I just think it would have been another moment of our heroes may actually be in jeopardy,
In trouble, yeah.
and to some degree, because you don't really feel that
Well, I think your hero
until there's
of the
one
movie
moment.
is our new Peter, so they have to definitely give him that moment.
Yeah.
And I think he is in jeopardy, but I think the jeopardy is his morality, because he's
Yeah.
very, very close to killing Norman at this point. He's
Yes,
I mean, he's beating the hell out of Norman, and I don't know how. I mean, obviously Norman's kind of got super strength, but I was like, man, if that's like a normal street level dude. That dude is super
he
dead.
dead.
Um,
He's super dead.
But I just kind of I loved that moment where he picks up the glider, he's gonna do it.
He's gonna do. He is
I mean,
absolutely.
he's all in. He's killing this fool, and then
He was in full downward motion.
Yeah.
you just see Toby just kind of step in front of him and just be like, don't do that. And that moment of real. Tom does a good job of it. Tom, first name basis, does a really good job of the facial expression of realization of man, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And credit to Tom Holland for talking about how emotional this movie was, and it actually being really emotional. Because I feel like he hyped that up a lot. In all the press, all the pre-interview stuff, he was like, "Yeah, this is a really emotional movie." I was like, "Man, good," because the other two kind of lack that to me. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice to see it, and it's shown in more ways than just a character dying or a hard decision. It's shown in ways where he's struggling with who he's gonna be moving forward. He's struggling with, now people aren't gonna know me. There's a lot of struggles for him, and watching him navigate those is just so enjoyable. And watching him navigate those with basically two older brothers is awesome. I didn't think about the brotherly love aspect of this movie that's there. That just, again, maybe that's just why it resonates so much with me.
Yeah. You're gonna cry even more next time you watch it.
Probably.
Now that you've thought about that.
Well, here's what's gonna happen. Dana cries at epic stuff, and so when Garfield walks through the portal, Dana's gonna be like, and I'm gonna be like, why am I crying now?
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna work. But no, after that, you kind of get the farewell to the other Spider-Man.
You did skip over
We
one
skipped
moment.
a pretty big moment. Goblin blows up the cube.
Yep.
MJ falls.
Yes, sorry, the moment I friggin'
Is
I
it?
was super excited about. Yeah.
Tom, first name basis, jumps down after her. Goblin comes again.
Well, great. They did a good job. I thought that was an edited part of the trailer, but in reality, it's not. They just cut it before he gets hit. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, nice. But yeah. Carry on.
No, he gets hit, takes. Man, our theater just took
the air out of the room.
took the air out of the room, and then you see Andrew turn, and everyone just loses their mind in
I
our
cried
theaters.
here. This is one of my big cry moments.
Well, so
It's not
what
the
I
save.
what
it's
I
right
love about
after.
that
Yes,
it is
yes.
because everyone's cheering. The save happens quick enough where everyone can go yes, and then you kind of calm down as they land, and then there's that moment where he's like, "Are you all right?" And then she's like, "Yes," and he can finally let that face. And then he's remembering, and she's like, "Are you all right?" And everyone in our theater is like,
I'm not okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was, I think everybody was kind of hoping that was what they were going to do.
Mhm.
Because I think I even said, these movies lack the emotional impact that will give me the emotion I need from these movies, and it, among other things, does.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. I think I was just so excited to talk about more Spider-Man. But yeah, no, like the moment he lands, and he kind of, it looks like he's teary-eyed even.
Yep.
Garfield does a really good job of portraying that emotion of, okay, I did it this time.
Yeah.
And then remembering like, but I did fail.
Yeah.
It's just so good. So good.
So.
Yeah, that moment got me pretty good.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I was hurting. I was in a bad way.
Oh!
I was in a bad way after that. A good bad way.
Good bad way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we get the farewell.
Well, also, sorry, not to just keep going back to other things, but there is the brief moment where Peter is talking to Strange about his choice.
Yeah.
And we see some outlines, some shapes of people who may know who Peter Parker is coming through. Were there any that stood out to you as like, I recognize?
Craven.
Craven was the one I saw.
I didn't recognize any of them. I don't know any.
Craven, Rhino. I'm sure there's some others.
Which they've kind of
I have a prediction about this.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Let's go.
So
into that.
they do tie it up and they close everything up, right?
Yeah.
They save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes back to their respective universes. I do think there will be. I think of this like, season 2 of The Flash, where like the Earth 2, Earth 1 storylines, and like some of the Earth 2 people make it to Earth 1 kind of thing. I think we're gonna get a little bit of that. Where like there's gonna be some people who did get through when that was going on, and I think that's where Craven will fit into the MCU and the Sony verse, because we get a little bit more of that too at the end in the post-credit scene. But also, this to me, Brett and I were texting on Friday before you had seen it because I didn't want to say anything, but Brett was like, I think with this. The way this movie ends, I don't think Miles is happening anytime soon. And I disagree. I think this is how Miles gets here.
I disagree. I think he's coming.
I think he's coming very soon. And I think this is how he gets there. I think he's left over. Like, he's come through.
Oh, I don't think that.
I think that's how
I think he's just going to get bit by a spider, and Peter's going to be like, oh, I can help him. Yeah, and I have somebody that I can talk about with all this. Nobody knows.
So similar. I think Miles is going to come through because he's from a different universe in the comics too. But I think he's going to come through and he's going to be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know anybody here. He's going to go to his house, all these things, and they'll say all that. And then he's going to see Spider-Man. And he's be like, yeah, guys like me. And then he's going to try to catch up to Peter. And then they're kind of going to form their relationship. So similar. That's how I think he'll fit.
I think we'll start with an unpowered Miles.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think with America being in Doctor Strange, with Kate already being introduced, I think Miles is coming powered up before too long. They're forming the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
For sure.
It's happening very fast. And I think Miles is their golden ticket in all of that.
Yeah.
So, see, be a lot of fun. Very curious to see where they go with that part of the story.
Agreed.
But yeah, nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
This is where I cried again.
Yeah.
When because he goes to the donut shop and sees Ned and MJ, and he starts to talk to MJ, and he's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of decides, like, it's better if they don't know me.
Yeah.
And that was, like, where I started crying again, because I'm like, man, like, that's, like, a real-life choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to just cut certain people out of your lives, and that's not like a negative way for him, but like that's what it said to me. It's okay. Like sometimes you gotta let things go. That's tough. It's a lot to handle. It was really well done. The scene is really well shot, and I really liked. I don't know why, but that scene of Tom as Peter, really good to me.
Yeah.
It's like a very good Peter Parker scene. I liked it a lot.
Nothing to add.
I agree.
But then we get one of the most underrated scenes in the whole movie. he has a new suit, and it's like the very classic original Spider-Man suit that he's made on his own sewing machine, and it's not Avengers tech loaded, and he's swinging through New York.
This is
Spider-Man.
Yeah, we're getting Spider-Man now.
This is why I'm excited about 4, 5,
And
6
yeah.
because, you know, this, as much as this movie is a conclusion of his first 3, it's a beginning of the next. It's a return to kind of what the other Spider-Man movies that we had seen were, even more isolated though than, you know, we didn't get very much time we didn't get any time
in post Peter.
Well, in what was the first one? Homecoming. Right? Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming. We get 0 time before someone knows who Peter is.
Yeah.
From the start of that movie, Tony Stark knows who Peter is. And it only grew. In the first movie alone, we got Ned figured it out and Vulture and May, right? And so I think now, obviously, with May gone and Peter on his own, and no one even having a clue who Peter Parker is, we're going to get such a different... I think we have the opportunity to get such a different Spider-Man storyline.
Yep.
One that I think, hopefully, here's where my hope is, gives him his own thing.
Yes.
Which is my whole thing, which is we haven't gotten a Peter Parker Spider-Man story. We got even more Peter Parkers this time around, but
it's gotta. Who's the villain of your choice for this?
Oh yeah,
I think it's gonna be
Venom.
Venom storyline. Except
There's a lot of work to do leading up to that, though. I feel like.
I think they're gonna do it Flash. Like Peter's gonna be bummed out because he's got no one. He's on his own. He's gonna get the suit. It's gonna make him feel powerful. He might start accidentally hurting people, but instead of going Eddie Brock, they're gonna go Flash Thompson, Spider-Man.
I'd love for 5 to be Venom, and him
also,
to have a lower level neighborhood villain for 4.
I think Black Cat is an option. It's in the, I guess.
I think it could be Kraven.
Yeah.
Someone hunting him.
Yeah.
Because Kraven just views him as big game. He just wants to kill Spider-Man because he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There's not really any other reason. I think that gives him a very centrally focused Peter Parker, or not Peter Parker, but Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
This guy only wants to kill Spider-Man because he's Spider-Man, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not overly complicated. It's not this crazy thing. Just a dude who wants to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then in the next one you can introduce Venom and that that's a more Peter Parker villain. I mean, Venom is out for Spider-Man, but Flash or Eddie, but in this case you're probably right, it'll be Flash would be my guess, is more of this. He has this relationship with Peter. I guess he doesn't anymore, though.
Not anymore, yeah, no, he doesn't.
He doesn't care about Peter.
He doesn't care.
He only ever cared that he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah, there could be some interesting stuff there.
Yeah,
lots of hope for the future.
But to talk about Venom, because I think that is a good thing to bring up. The post-credit scene is
better than the first 2 movies.
Yeah. But it's, him kind of talking about like, wait, so there's more superpowered people here. I kind of like the dialogue he's having with himself.
He's trying to understand the MCU
world.
Yeah.
He's like, what the heck? But of course, then when everybody else gets sent back, it's assumed that he's getting sent back at the same time. And part of the symbiote gets left behind.
A symbiote that he has heard about from a different Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He knows about.
He knows about.
Alien.
Yep, that's true.
Yep. And they're very intentional with lines like that. So, I just...
Sorry, this is kind of going back to the Miles Morales' thing. Jamie Foxx and Andrew Garfield talk about it.
Yeah.
I felt like they were hinting at, we're going to do it.
What do they say?
He's like, man, the way you're always helping out people.
Oh yeah, I was hoping you were a black
hoping you were a
guy.
black guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew's just like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think Venom is in 5. And I think the black suit Spider-Man thing could lead to Miles' arrival. Because there will be 2 Spider-Mans in black suits. People will get confused. And I almost wonder. Now I'm just spitballing into the universe. I don't think this is what they're going to do, but I think it'd be really cool if Peter ended up getting attached with the symbiote and Miles shows up and actually has to separate him from the symbiote. And we don't actually get Eddie Brock or Flash. We get Peter dealing with being symbiote Spider-Man. And Miles showing up and kind of saving the day. And then there's like this conversation about like, okay, well, and Jonah Jameson will be the front runner for this. Who's the good and who's the bad Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And like, where do you align yourselves? And then obviously they'll solve their issues. But I think that could be a fun way of doing it. Because it does feel like, to me, I think you're right. I think it will be Tom Hardy playing Venom.
But
you didn't say it this time, but I don't think, if they do Eddie Brock, I think it's Tom Hardy. It's just a different version of him.
Yeah.
You'll have a different haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a different, hopefully better accent. If they decide to go that route, whatever.
I'm less interested in that route.
Yeah.
I'm way less interested in that route.
To me, it does feel like they're not going to use Tom Hardy.
Just let Tom Hardy be the voice of Venom and let him occupy other people. I don't need Eddie Brock.
Yeah, I don't.
At all.
I think you just let him exist over there. I like the idea of Flash, or not even just have it be Spider-Man.
Just use Flash as a first act vehicle.
Yeah.
To get Venom to Peter.
Yeah.
In some fashion, because I assume at some point Peter is going to rebuild those relationships, and even if Flash doesn't know, there will be the just proximity because they're all at MIT and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
kind of talking myself into my idea now. I kind of like it.
So I have a theory. This doesn't really have to do with Venom or future, but more so in just the ending that nobody knows who.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the spell only worked. Everybody in the world is gonna know who Peter is.
Right.
What is the first line that Captain Marvel says to Spider-Man Peter Parker? Hi, Peter Parker. And I think it's going to be the first thing she says when she eventually comes back. And he's going to be like,
how do you know me?
you know who I am.
You remember? Because he'll still have remembered
That's
her.
a fantastic theory. Did you hear that somewhere?
No. Well, I've heard it, but I thought of it first, I should say.
That's really good. That means Fury would remember him, too.
And the Guardians and Thor.
Ooh.
There's some potential
That's
there.
juicy. I like that. I like that a lot. Big fan of that. Good
I think
point.
it could be fun for if there's some sort of reunion. They're like, I just remember in Infinity War when Parker and Star-Lord, Spider-Man and Star-Lord first meet. But imagine if it's like there's this almost like, oh my gosh, remember, like he's introducing him to the rest of the team, or
you guys don't remember Peter?
Yeah. This guy saved my butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all Worlders know who he is.
Yeah, I think that's a good solid
theory.
theory.
I think it's
really
kind
good.
of break him for a little bit of I didn't truly lose who I was.
It's a great way to let him have Spider-Man centric stories, but also be able to bring him back in without it feeling like he's just kind of thrown back in the mix.
Yeah,
it's a great way to keep your options open.
They also they kind of glossed over it, but they did address the fact that Fury was off-world, and that came as a surprise to Peter, and they kind of just had to keep moving. But like, I wonder how that changes how he fits into Secret Wars. All of a sudden, wait, I was interacting with a Fury, but now you're telling me he's been gone. What the heck's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think the big thing...
I just also have a question, like, does Doctor Strange remember that he did a spell for Spider-Man? But he's just like, I don't remember who you are. Or does he just forget he did the spell?
It's magic.
That'll be on the internet. There'll be
magic.
somebody with a theory about it at some point.
Because he, like, even brings up, he's like, do you remember the party of Akatosh or whatever? Skyrim reference. And,
Wong
Wong's
is
like, no,
no.
I don't. And he's like, that's why. It's like, he remembers doing the spell. So does he remember? Could he go to Peter and be like, I did a forget-me-not spell on you. Right? He could be like,
yeah.
I just a question.
There's a lot that the magic system leaves kind of vague, which I think is fine. I don't need it to be too explaining.
Yeah. It's magic.
It should have some rules. It should be easily understood without
There are no rules.
overcomplicated
Put your
rules.
shirt back on. There's one rule.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this movie. And I love how we're talking about it versus how we've talked about the last,
how we kind of just dumped on Eternals.
Well, it's Eternals
At least
and
we did.
Eternals and even Black Widow.
Oh, they're both bad movies.
Yep.
But bad movies or not, yes,
No, they are bad.
We have more fun. No, I'm just saying in general, bad movie or not, we just have
More fun talking
about movies we like.
Yes. Naturally.
Naturally.
I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of fun.
I'm just
to
heckling
talk
you.
about.
I
Sorry.
know. No, it's fine. We're just an hour in. I figured we wanted to wrap this up, but if
Yes.
you'd rather heckle me, I'll just put that on TikTok.
No, we can wrap this up. I mean, do we want to talk about the Doctor Strange thing?
Yes, the second post-credit scene, actually a movie trailer for Multiverse of Madness.
Let's
Super
go.
cool.
Mordo's back, baby.
With
I was
braids,
super happy.
man.
I was
Looks
super happy to see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's dope. I talked about it a little bit, but America Chavez is in this.
Yep.
Was that announced like a long time ago? I don't remember hearing that.
I vaguely remember.
Dude, she's about the stars and stripes to piss out of some people.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm gonna punch the crap out of someone.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun, man. They're really like ironing out their Young Avengers group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really loving what they're doing. It looks like it's gonna be a really diverse cast of people. Sick. So excited. But yeah, the Multiverse of Madness teaser trailer. I'm excited. It made me feel a little bit better than how I was feeling. Because I was a little bit. It just felt
Unsure.
it just felt like they hadn't really been saying much about it. And then all we heard was bad news with the really extensive reshoots, which usually reshoots happen, but they were like, no, like these are big reshoots. But then I see this and I'm like, no, that looks good.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad.
His goatee was really bad.
Yeah. Probably a
Not
reason.
a big deal. but
Good Strange goatee or bad Strange goatee?
Good. It looked like somebody just painted it.
That's the other thing too.
It
What
could've
if,
been.
Oh yeah.
What if
is
factors in now?
Actual play now.
Yeah.
And
Which
thank
means I have to
goodness
finish it.
It's one of the good characters
Right.
and one of the good episodes that they're referencing.
Oh yeah, that episode is good. Like episode 3, 4. Yeah. Still haven't watched
Yeah,
the Thor
Evil,
episode.
Strange, Supreme.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see something, even if it's not directly tied to it, something kind of in that vein in live action.
Yeah.
Because Cumberbatch can do that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is Wong
He's
gonna
got
die?
the chomps. What?
Wong gonna die.
Probably.
Freaking dang it.
Which means no more bangers.
All the rest of the movie's gonna be bad.
No. There's just
They'll bring it in from
there's
another
less of a
multiverse.
chance they're good.
They'll bring in a new Wong from a different multiverse.
And
And this Wong will have braids too. I think
I
that's
don't
some
know.
distinguishing factor of why he'll be like tatted up, like full sleeve tattoos.
I'm
I think it's gonna be Wong, but he's gonna be playing his character. JPL supervisor.
It's gonna be his character from Annihilation, where he's just interviewing Natalie Portman all the time.
I
Because
want the Wong
Natalie
multiverse.
Portman is gonna play Thor, yeah, and he's gonna be like, "I know you."
And Matt Damon is a player on Asgard.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go. And
we need the
well,
Benedict
SG4,
Wong.
who is Mordo.
Yes.
Dude, we got this.
Dude, this
the
is
Wong
great.
universe.
I love it.
I'd pay big
He's
money
like
for that.
he's like the next 7 degrees of or what is it?
Oh yeah, 7 degrees.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
It's Wong. Yeah. No, I feel a little bit better about the Doctor Strange movie.
Yep.
Than I did.
Same.
Which is a great feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed.
Did you
Now,
ever figure out when it comes out? When we were talking earlier.
I could have sworn it was March, but maybe it's April.
Now just give me my Miles Morales in the MCU, and however, I feel like Sony's gonna keep him pretty close to the chest.
Yeah. Who knows?
Expected May 6th.
Okay, May.
Wow.
Well,
That's
but
probably on
these-
track.
The first week in May movie always gets moved up.
Oh, that's
a
true.
week.
It'll be
They've done
end
it
of
the
April.
past 3 years.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's probably tracking for that. It should be fine.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll
so.
delay it.
No.
If they do delay it and it's like a substantial delay, consider me back on the little worried train. Little worried. Not majorly worried, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like they have a lot of post work to still do. Which would mean those reshoots were really actually substantial.
Or is really substantial, really needed, and yeah.
Yeah. But I
Who knows?
think it'll be on track. I
Who
think it'll
knows?
come out on time. And like you said, it'll probably move into the back week of April. That
Yeah.
back end there.
Probably. Well, all right. We've gone and spoiled some things.
Our spoiler talk was longer than our whole episode.
Dude, such a fun movie to talk about, though.
Oh yeah. We'll be talking
Um,
about this one for a while.
Yeah. Yes.
Need to see it again.
Yep.
I'm going Christmas Eve.
Yep.
You want to join?
I'm celebrating Christmas on.
If you, I'm curious what people out there thought about this movie. If you liked it as much as us, it seems to be getting pretty good. I mean, pretty high recognition from audience and critics alike. So it sounds like it's a crowd pleaser for sure. But I can't promise we'll talk about anything if you send us a fan box question about Spider-Man for a while. Just
Yeah,
we
it'll
want
be
to
a
stay
bit.
off the
Unless you want it
spoiler train.
Super vague.
Yeah. But I am curious if, let us know what you thought about it. Spoiler free-ish if it's on the internet. If you're going to email us, you can spew those spoilers all you want. But if you follow us on Twitter and you let us know, or in the YouTube comments, be respectful of others who may not have seen it. Hopefully, if they're watching this video, they've seen it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Thanks for tuning in once again. Next week we'll talk about something. Hawkeye. We'll get to talk about Hawkeye and Matrix Resurrection. That's right.
The Kingsman.
The Kingsman. I'm gonna see a couple things. So yeah.
Probably West Side Story.
Hopefully. Hey man, dang movie.
So until next week, thank you all for watching and listening and subscribing, and we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Deuces.